Hi, Victory.
Hi, welcome. Thanks.
How are you?
Good. Just taking it as it comes.
That's
Right?
all we can do.
All we can do. Yep, curveballs and other things. You never know what's going.
Right.
So I'm glad you're on the show. Richard's getting us set up.
I sent you the link just
All
now.
right.
Wonderful. Okay, here we go.
Right. Let me just turn on my computer. Hi, Richard. How are
Hello
you?
and welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and do it, and then when Joy comes, we will, let me see. That's good. Okay. Now they say select media, but I think we have the media, don't we? There you are. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm seeing you in the phone. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm on my phone as well.
I
Sorry.
think we'll please remove the link preview. That's what they always say. And
I'm trying to see if I can get it on my computer.
okay, here. And select the media means um, I guess I'll select the media. What's it good?
I am so sorry. Let me see. I'm trying to join you on my computer.
Okay, well, you're fine. Now, the only thing is you should turn your phone. You can do it on the phone. Just turn your phone horizontal.
Oh, you mean like allow it? Oh, sorry. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
If your phone will do, yeah, if your phone, there you go. That's great. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, and then so that we get your whole head. We need your whole head. Yeah. Okay.
That always helps.
That's fine. Yep. Okay. So Joy she'll join us when she joins us. I guess that's the way
Okay.
it's got to be.
Sorry.
And, yeah. And so Richard has got us set up. And Richard, I think we can start anytime now because it's already 1:15.
Okay, I'm going to reset the timer. And
Okay.
once it says on the air, you're on the air, okay?
Okay. Okay. Very good. Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center, being recorded at Think Twice Radio in the home of the future, also the home of our producer and friend, Richard Wicca. Thank you, Richard. And we also thank our friends at WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative radio station coming out of Buff State. Thank you, WBNY and Buff State. Thank you, Greg Harvey, chief engineer there, and also Brian Harrell, who does a lot of our producing as well over there. And when I think of thankfulness, I think of our indigenous and really BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and all the people who have really understood that despite whatever kinds of trauma or hardship people endure, that there is so much to be thankful for in spite of that still. Just life itself in so many ways. So the Haudenosaunee, which I want to say, we are both of us, and I think Ari, you are too, that we are all on stolen Haudenosaunee, well, certainly Haudenosaunee land, and mostly all here Seneca land that has been taken through violence and lies, all kinds of trickery and deception. And in spite of that, and in spite of genocidal efforts, the effort to wipe out the indigenous people, which is really what happened, despite enslavement, also for people who formerly enslaved people, who also know that gratitude is the attitude that is so important, no matter what kinds of hardships and struggle people have gone through, and how it strengthened people too, and people going through plenty of hardship and struggle and genocidal efforts right now. So, so I think of how the Haudenosaunee and all of the Haudenosaunee start all of their events off with a Ganonyo, which is a Thanksgiving address, which thanks Mother Earth for giving us everything we need for a good life here on Earth. That the living water that is very life itself, that is 70% or so of our bodies, that is makes life work on Earth. We don't have life without water. And so we think of all the wonderful plants and animals, all of whom are desperately needing that water, and all of the and then the Haudenosaunee would go through all the different plants and animals, the nutritional and medicinal plants, and then the different animals that the deer are the leaders of the animals here in this part of the world anyway, and just so many different aspects of the earth that they remember, and the thunder beings and the winds and the and of course the sky world. So the brother sun, grandmother moon, and all of the stars, and all the leaders and the spiritual beings that help us, that teach us, that help give us so much. And last but not least, of course, the creator and the love that animates it all. And then they would say Nyahweh, and the people say Nyo or Je. So Nyahweh.
Yo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And it's very much like amen, 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 and especially ashe. So we're grateful to be here with everyone. Everyone being right now our friend and friend of the show, Eri Alvarado. Bienvenidos.
Muchas gracias. ¿Cómo estás?
Oh, muy bien. Estoy muy feliz que estés aquí ahora. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias por invitarme.
Yeah, oh, siempre, siempre. I'm always so glad to have you on the show. And and I'm very excited about our topic. Our topic, we're taping this now on May 20th. And our topic is, when this gets aired on WBNY, it will be Memorial Day. So our topic is Veterans for Peace, and we'll be talking about Memorial Day and veterans. So we will be speaking with two veterans, one of them being Eri, another being Joy Metzler, who had something unforeseen come up, and she will join us in the show a little later on. But before anything, I just want to introduce Eri, so friend of the show, and just a dear, dear friend. She's a writer for Latino Village, a veteran, a Marine veteran who is also part of Combat Defense, is it called? Common Defense, right? Is that right?
Yes, Common Defense is a group of veterans. It's a veterans organization that advocates for political leverage around the country.
Wonderful. So we're so excited about that. And of course, last but not least, it's a little less related, but it's still related, that you are the founder and director of El Barrio Caribe.
Yes.
Caribe. Yes. Yeah, El Barrio Caribe, which is a gathering here in Buffalo and Western New York for people who are in the Caribbean, for people tied to or in the diaspora about the Caribbean, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And what's always special shout out to the Dominican Republic.
Yes, a special shout out to the Dominican Republic. El Barrio Caribe is trying to bring Dominican and Caribbean culture to Western New York, or expand on the Caribbean culture that already exists in Western New York. Because we do have our Puerto Rican population here, so
You're just reminding me of something I have to do, so I'm writing it down.
well,
We talked
happy to help.
that I didn't write down. I don't trust myself to get things done if I don't write them down. Anyway, so
Yes.
so before anything, as we like to do, and I will introduce myself, Victory Ross, or Vicky Ross. Victoria Ross actually is my given name. Victoria Basil Ross actually is my given name. But I want to mention that I like to use that teenage nickname of Victory because I like to remind people that the real victory, everybody wins. And I am the interim executive director at the Western New York Peace Center for not for much longer, because we are in the process of hiring our executive director. I know I've been saying that for a long time, but now we're closing in on it. So we'll be making an announcement on Tuesday, and we might even do a radio show with her very shortly after. So anyway, we're very excited about that, and so I just wanted to say that much. So before anything, and we said our topic is Veterans for Peace, and especially vis-a-vis Memorial Day. But before we go any further, let us just talk about what does it mean to you to be a veteran for peace and Memorial Day. So the values that you think of when you think of Veterans for Peace and you think of Memorial Day, what are the values you think of, Eddie?
Well, I think the values are all the same, or they relate to one another. It's, memorializing the sacrifice that people have made for this country to be what this country is, and, for the people to have the rights that we have and to be able to do the things that we are able to do in this country, which are, most of them are privileges. So Memorial Day is, for me, it's commemorating the memories of these people that gave the ultimate sacrifice for our rights. And for me, being a veteran that advocates for peace, it's following in the tandem of the oath that I took when I took the oath as a Marine. It's to protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that means, standing up regardless of whether or not,
Yes.
the things are being done right in our country. And we've talked before about patriotism and, nationalism. And for me, the value is being a patriot and holding my country to better standards than we are holding it currently. So I think the values are intertwined. Yeah.
You're not
And I don't
kidding.
know if that answers your question.
Oh, absolutely it does. Beautifully, very beautifully. You're so
Thank you.
expressive and you're so right on. So I feel, first of all, I will, of course, give the shout out to peace and love, to those values, because they come, there are other great values involved, but those two really do cover it almost every time, really, in one way or another. Because I love what you said about upholding the Constitution. And one of that means the truth of what does it say, which is an imperfect document. But let me say, there's a lot that is important and good in there. And by the way, there's a lot that came from the Haudenosaunee that is in there, too, of what they did for balance of power, what they did for leadership and things like that. And they had some other different ideas about leadership, too, that we could include. But anyway, the importance of standing on principle, on having, a set plan and then sticking to it, and not just fitting the rules to changing the rules to fit what you want to do, which is what's happening. So the truth of the heinous acts that are being done at I can even say at various levels, at all the levels of our government, at different times and ways where people are falling short of the mark. And so the truth of that. And so we're not saying that in a way of hating or blaming is a little bit of
Not at all.
Yeah, but
Well,
the
so I think, oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
That's right. The point that we need to tell the truth about what's happening and versus also what needs to happen. That's one thing. And then also, because we love each other, we need to protect each other from the bad acts that are being done and the violence that's being done in the name of our government. So government-sponsored violence. We have the Western New York Peace Center has a campaign, Stop Government-Sponsored Violence. So whether it's done, it doesn't matter, but for whichever, whether it's the military or the police or the corrections officer or whoever, contractor or whatever is somehow when they're holding the gun and they're getting paid by the government, then we just excuse it, no matter what they do, even when they do something that is heinous, even when they do something that is so that the innocent people are killed. But we just say, oh, well, people make mistakes and just excuse it away because government-sponsored violence is okay. It's not okay. So that is why we need to hold our government to the principles of law and of fairness and of justice and of the founding principles, which you included in the Constitution. Go ahead.
Well, so the Constitution is a living document, right? But so it reflects our society. And I hear, and rightfully so, that we are outraged at what is being done by our government currently. But when you think of it from an outsider's perspective, you have to understand it's a living document and it has changed throughout the years. History tells us that it changes, right?
Right.
It's meant to change towards or geared towards change that reflects the values of our country. And you and I have spoken about this before. So where is it being steered towards if you can't even define the values of your country? We are steering the country towards ill will because we are not caring about the human aspect of our country. And it is, I notice it in the way that we speak about our government and about our states, our cities, our states, our country as a whole. It's a business. And, it started with the current government, it being ran less a business, actually started in the 80s, but we're not going to go, being ran as a business, and everything is monetary and everything is financial and everything is about money and what you can acquire. And so we as a country have, and as a society have lost the human aspect of it all. And if our Constitution is a living document, the logic dictates that those who are in power would change it to benefit their will, their values. When you cannot define the values of a nation, it changes towards the will of greedy, selfish, ill-mannered, I guess, men, because that's who's really in power, who do not have the best interest of humans at heart. Because if you notice that our government and those who are running our government, it's about exploitation. It's about exploiting the labor of people, the health of people, the conditions that people find themselves in. We justify them, we excuse them, and instead of actually addressing the issues and the causes, we create more conditions that cause more issues and create more barriers for people. So as a living document, people are going to change it to benefit those who are in power. And at this moment, that is the goal. The goal is to have 2/3 majority in the Senate so that they can change the Constitution. Those that are in power will enact rules in this country that are not beneficial for the rest of the country. And it's weird to watch because we are aware that it's happening, but it's almost like when people are overwhelmed, that fight or flight or fawn, where they find themselves frozen in time and they cannot move, they don't know what to do. They have conditioned us. Yeah, they have conditioned us to be frozen in the moment. It's either with comfort or with not knowing what to do. Go ahead.
So what we need, I'm going to say, it depends on whose values. So right now we're talking about our values. When we go around like this, so the government or whoever is in charge of the government or different elements, are they using the values? I mean, there's so much to look at when we say the values of the country. I mean, the wonderful and the terrible side by side and intimately connected is what I'll say. But anyway, we've done a little something about values, and I want to say integrity is one of them. Community and unselfishness is some of them. That's why love. That's why I said about love, and truth, and just being frank and addressing things and changing the law to make the illegal legal because you want to do what you want to do. That's not okay by me. So that is not in my values. But anyway, before we go further in values, what I'd like to do is really have you, as a Marine veteran, you have had a journey to why you joined and how you lived when you were in active service, and then you're still in active service in a very different way. And so what has been your journey from joining to being part of common, what's it called again? I'm sorry.
It's called Common Defense. Common Defense is one of the many organizations, but yeah.
Yeah, but so Common Defense or being, and we were saying Veteran for Peace, which I do encourage you to join that organization, but also you are a veteran who is in favor of peace and who's very
advocating
much
for peace. Yeah.
Talk about that. Yeah, if you would talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. So I joined the Marine Corps out of high school. I had just moved to this country, so I didn't really know any opportunities to me. I actually excelled in school, so I had the ability to get scholarships, but wasn't aware of what was available. And a recruiter came in, promised the world, traveling, all bills paid. I was like, well, that sounds amazing. And college paid. So I was like, okay. And I joined. I traveled. I don't have a lot of bad things to say. I don't have bad things to say about the military, actually. I have bad things to say about the government that uses the military as a pawn. But when I was in the military, I actually learned a lot about my country, about the world, about how things function. And it shaped me into who I am today. So I'm extremely appreciative of it. I went to war, and I think that was the first time that my eyes were opened when I was in Iraq. I got demoted when I was in Iraq many times. But one of the times that I got demoted was for throwing water and food to the children that were running after our trucks. And I remember I got berated and obviously NGP'd. And I couldn't understand it because I thought at that time we were being told that the war was over and that we were on a humanitarian mission. And this was back in 2003 when, the false war is over narrative was going around. So I didn't understand why, if we were there on a humanitarian mission, why giving food and water to children was seen as something that was obscene, negative, and worth punishing. So that was the first time that it opened my eyes. And then I started getting involved with like homeless shelters, and there was a lot of homeless veterans in there. And then my work with the VA and seeing how systems are not meant to help people, they're meant to protect entities. So that really, it just opened a whole new world for me when I realized that government officials or institutions like non-orgs, a lot of non-orgs that work closely with politicians, or like the VA system, the director, their government within the VA, they're all there to protect the entity, our government. They're not there to protect the people that use these facilities. They're not there to protect the people that come and are making up the demographic of constituents or, patients or whatnot. So it was slowly that I started noticing little things that were just not making any sense to me, because all of these systems, all of these programs, all of these things were there for people, but they were never helping people. They were never actually being used as resources. And then I started noticing how everything was micro managed and people were breadcrumbed. And then when we started looking around the country, and poverty just ballooned, and all of us were at the point where none of us could afford our lives. Children were being murdered in schools because we had no gun regulation. The regulation that we had from 1984, we let it lapse in 2004, and then all of a sudden we had mass shootings in schools that we have not addressed. We refuse to actually address the root causes, because we pretend like to address these causes would infringe on people's rights. So therefore, we trampled on other rights to protect one. And it's just a lot of things became like this is the tumbleweed, that it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger for me. And then I just became belligerent of the system, untrusting of the system, and not something that I want to ever support anymore. Or, I have to function within it, but I don't have to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. Of course. Well, so it sounds very clear. We've also had Joy Metzler has joined us, although for those of you who are watching this on live stream, I'm afraid I don't believe you're going to be turning, your camera is broken, you said?
I'm gonna.
Oh no, Joy!
I'll be fiddling with it during this. I can't figure out which connection goes to my camera, but
if you could try your phone, if you can, just put the link and go into.
Yeah, that's not headphone stuff, and I'll have issues with audio. So I will.
Okay.
I'll figure this out while we're chatting.
We'll just proceed. And we're getting all kinds of curveballs as we go. I know the baseball season is coming or something like that. People are talking about it. So that's you always have to be ready for being flexible. So here we are. But anyway, so welcome, Joy. First, I just want to welcome you and introduce you. Hi, Joy.
Hey.
So I want to say, first of all, thank you so much for joining us for this show, Talking Peace. Oh, good. You did.
We fixed it. We fixed it.
Yay!
Wonderful. So glad to have you here. And so I want to just shout your praises, because I mean, it's so great to see you. If you have a little light that can go.
Yeah, I'm working on that next.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. And thank you for all of that. Thank you. Perfect. Wonderful. Yeah, as long as it's not blaring in your eye. So Joy is a stalwart member of Veterans for Peace. We had a wonderful time. Speaking of when we met in New York City during the Veterans and Allies, Veterans for Peace and Allies 40-day fast for Gaza and Palestine. So Joy was very, you just did so much and so beautifully. Your leadership at that time was just fantastic. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for your conscientious objection when you how you ended your being in the Air Force. So thank you, Joy, and joining us from Florida. So thank you so much, Joy. Welcome.
Yeah, good to be here. And good to see you after quite a long time.
Yes, it has been. And especially when you think about the number of things that have been going on ever since. because
Yeah,
our
feels like it's been a decade.
been I say every day a week goes by, lately. But joy. So the one thing that we started with values. So I'm going to say you could sort of play a little catch up on the talking circle piece. So welcome. That's the first thing, and then we had a little Canoño and landed and enslaved people acknowledgement, and then we talked about values. So if you want to share the values that you think of when you think of Veterans for Peace and Memorial Day. And also you can go right into what Ari just did about like, what was your path? What brought you to the point of being a veteran for peace? So you can share both of those with us.
Yeah, when thinking about the organization Veterans for Peace, I think a lot about I'm trying to remember what the single word for it is, but I can't quite. So it's very much, they've been around since Vietnam, so they've played this whole game before multiple times, and they're still out there doing their thing. So I know there's like a single word to describe it, but I can't think of it right now, so I'm not going to try. And then thinking about Memorial Day. Again, not a single word for it, but when I was in the military, I was very bought into ideas of military sacrifice and things like that. And so I think for me, Memorial Day hasn't necessarily lost that central idea, which is that we're paying tribute to the people who have died, thinking that they were defending us or thinking that they're sacrificing for us. But something that is different from how I see it, or how I saw it years ago, is that the best way to honor people on Memorial Day is to make sure that we don't continue having to hold Memorial Days for new generations of people. We're already past the post 9/11 veteran generation. We're already seeing a new generation being formed, which was really interesting for me, because I got out at the end of 9/11, or at the end of the what would be considered the post 9/11 generation. We left Afghanistan while I was still at the Air Force Academy. Mm-hmm. And then getting out, seeing that we're preparing for new war, and some old places, some new places. It's just incredible to me that we're still playing this game, but I think a lot more people are seeing through it. So that's kind of my thing, is that if we want, like most people do, most people don't think we should be going to war with Iran. Most people are against us killing children in their schools. But the best way to do that, we first have to start dismantling this military first culture that we've built up. And part of that is dismantling the propaganda that we've built up around Memorial Day, Veterans Day, all of these different holidays that theoretically are supposed to celebrate veterans and military members and people who have dedicated their lives to service. And, in some strange irony, I guess these holidays are creating more of them, more to add into the pool of underprivileged veterans and poor kids being sent overseas to fight and kill for who knows what. Well, we do know
Greed.
What. Profit, greed, yeah.
Right.
But who knows what excuse they're going to use this time around. But for sure.
I feel like, first of all, I want to thank you. When I've known so many veterans who are for peace, who say, don't thank me for my service. Well, I do thank people for that sacrifice, for that courage to put your life on the line because you think that you're helping people. And then the other thing I also hold alongside that is the bad acts. And this is what Ari was just saying, as you came on. You know, the bad acts of our government, or why they do what they do, why they put people in harm's way, and the lack of care and concern for the people who are being told this is, you know, this is how you can help, when it's, who is it really helping other than the corporations and you know, the hegemony that the United States wants to have. And what I always think of is how my cat is over here too.
I have 5 around me.
Oh, really? But that I used to hand out this flyer, and anytime I handed it to a veteran, they always said, "Tell me about it." It said right up at the top, "Our government does not support our troops," which is all the ways that it's people tricking people into recruiting them, you know, not telling them how things are going to go down as far as what kind of benefits they will or won't get, or whatever, or even why they're doing what they're doing, what they'll end up doing, any of that. And so I just want to say, you know, I mean, you know, I think of the veterans, some of the veterans I've known. Frank Gage was a wonderful veteran who's passed away since then. But he always said, you know, honor the warrior, not the war. You know, so people who died trying to do the right thing, yes, we're sorry. We grieve them, we miss them. And, you know, however, it's we have to tell the truth, and this is back to when we talked about the values, truth and love, the truth of what our government is doing with our foreign policy and what they do with the military. So I think and our time is going quickly. So I want to go right on to the next piece, which is we wanted to talk about things that have been most meaningful to you in your working for peace. So Ari and then Joy. Go ahead.
Well, do Joy, because I haven't been working with the organization, so I would love to hear what she has to say, since she is a part of it. I am not part of it.
But you are still, you have common defense, and so it's just about the talking circle. So if you want to, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, ask me the question again. Sorry.
So it's just, you know, what has been especially meaningful for you in efforts for peace and justice? As simple as that.
I think the most meaningful thing that I've taken out of, I guess, my advocacy for peace and justice is educating people on a lot of things that they have been ignorant on. I know that as a young 20-year-old girl or 18-year-old girl, when I joined the military, I was extremely ignorant to the things that my country was participating in or how we were approaching things around the world. I was extremely ignorant about the struggle that a lot of people were forced into because of the privileges and the luxuries that we enjoy in this country. And I think a lot of our country as a whole is very ignorant about the things that our country does, how we function, and how what we are getting out of this. And it's not from lack of access to information; it's from a lack of being challenged in the moment about their so-called views or opinions or whatnot. So what I've taken the most out of my advocacy is to not be afraid to challenge people, to not be afraid to tell the truth, to not be afraid to be fearless when it comes to any aspect of challenging the system that we currently live in, because I feel like that's how you reach peace, is by, you know, you and I talk a lot about this, but peace cannot be achieved unless you know true violence and you are willing to violently fight for other people, for those that cannot fight for themselves, to have a chance to just exist. I mean, at this point, people are just in a fight for survival. And I think that that's very sad. But yeah, I'm going on a tangent. That's basically.
Yeah. So certainly we need, it's wonderful to be an advocate for people and for And that's what you've been doing in so many ways. And I certainly, Barrio Carib is part of that. So, Joy, what would you say? And I want to especially ask you to, to mention the experiences that are most meaningful to you. And also, if you would also talk a little bit about that exhibit that you put together, that you brought to New York City.
Yeah, so I think the exhibit you're referring to is the one with a bunch of the children who were killed in Gaza. Yeah. Well, I did another one of those exhibits because the one that I brought to New York specifically, I left there. But I made another one, and the stack has doubled since, of course. But so the thing I've really gotten out of it the most, and I think about like going and protesting outside of like MacDill Air Force Base, which is the epicenter of, which is like the epicenter of most of the issues we're seeing, being home to CENTCOM and SOCOM. So they're kind of like, they got both hands in the cookie jar sort of thing. So we staged a protest outside of MacDill, and I remember so clearly that there was a woman driving in, and the main reason we were out there was for Palestine. And so there was a woman driving into the base wearing a hijab, and she was so excited to see us out there. And it just made that entire day so worth it. It's a 2-hour drive for me. I was planning on getting arrested at the end of it, so I wasn't like super excited. It's hot. Florida's awful. I wasn't excited to be there. Okay. I don't think, if we had the ability, I don't think any of us would be doing this work because it's not fun work. I personally am not enjoying having my entire life being taken up by this, but seeing her be so happy that somebody was advocating, I don't know if it was for her, for a cause that she also believed in, for this, that, or the other reason, but seeing her so excited, I think just really encompasses a lot of what I find so meaningful out of the work I do. And I know it's so meaningful because for me, when I was going through the process of getting out of the military, and when I was going through this like questioning process of why I was even in, it was so valuable to me to have people exemplify or people stand up for what they believed in, because I looked to them for guidance on how to, how to stand up for the right thing, or I saw them embodying what I truly believed in, but at the time maybe didn't feel comfortable with or couldn't express fully myself. So that I think is a really good example of kind of what, and I've had a few other situations, kind of like that. You'll go out and you'll get people, yelling at you maybe or something, but you'll also have like, people who are really grateful for what you're doing, and that can make it all worth it. So I think yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know I appreciate you so much, both of you, and all the work that I've seen you do, for really out of truth and love, taking care of people's needs, promoting that people understand what really is going on, what is the cause, what is the initiating, what, this newest war that Trump just started. Like, where is that? There was no plan. There was no goal. There was,
Oh, yeah.
The big thing.
No, there is. There has been.
Well, there is a goal, which I'm going to say it's about hegemony. It's about being a wartime president. It's about using
No, it's the destabilization of the Middle East. This has been going on since the 1980s.
Right.
And Iran is the last country that they needed to destabilize in order to take over the region. This has nothing to do with like freedom for anybody. It has to do with taking resources.
And not only that, it also is a big prop up to the military industrial complex and all of the money that gets thrown that way, because money plays big time into all of this. So there's huge that when we know that more than half of our discretionary budget, that what he's asking for, billions more. They're spending $1 million every day, isn't it? $1 million every
1
day?
billion. 1 billion a day.
$1 billion a day.
I thought it was $1 billion a day.
Is it? It may be $1 billion a day. All I know is it is, as Eisenhower said, a theft from every hungry family in this country and elsewhere. It's just a heinous situation. But I want to say it's so meaningful, as you both talk about the children that have suffered, the innocent people that have suffered. Innocent people are suffering galore. That is what's happened, and that's what war is. It's the collective suffering that goes on, and to what end? Is for power, money, and just belligerence. It's might is right, and so we have a different idea, and that to me is so meaningful. And I see it in the work that each of you are doing. I see it, in the work that we're doing about domestic violence. Means both domestic violence, in terms in the home, but also in the domestic violence that is the ICE, knocking people over, being allowed now to arrest, to detain people based on their appearance or their language. And I mean, when I feel just the other day doing a vigil on all of that, passing out flyers to help people understand what's going on, and our goal to evict ICE from a particular building, and the way that people welcome that, the way people thank us for sharing the information, that they thank us. And one young woman who started crying, I asked her what's wrong, and she just said, "I'm just so scared." So standing up for those people and working against the things that are going on is so meaningful and so important. So I'd like to go around again on how each of you think of Memorial Day and how you'd like people to recognize it, or what, and how people can learn more or get more involved in the issues that we're talking about. So Eddie and then Joy.
You mean how can people get more involved with Memorial Day?
Well, in changing the trajectory. So that one of the things we've been saying is, actually, as I'm going to call out Richard Wick, our producer, who before we started the show, he said, well, some people say it's about the veterans, I'm sorry, the people who have died in their service. And some people say Memorial Day should be about foreign policy. So you could address it in that kind of way. But so I'm thinking about the changes that we need that we want to see, how people can get more involved in that way.
Well, I think Joy said it when she first joined, which is to not have any more Memorial Days of troops dying in senseless wars. But, Memorial Day is to commemorate the loss of life for fighting for the values that we as a nation have. And it goes back to values. If we cannot define those values, and if our values are solely financial or monetary and not humanitarian, then we are failing as a society. So I think that that's the biggest part, is to get our citizens involved in the human aspect of our country and not the financial aspect. For us to start speaking like we are made of people and not made of things to be sold. Right. For us to, I'm so sorry. For us to humanize one another, for us to value life once again. So that's the only way that you can commemorate the loss of life, is by advocating for those lives were lost for, to have the quality of life that those that died to provide. So don't let their lives go in vain or be lost in vain by being selfish and uncaring and uninvolved with what's going on in your country. Education is your greatest power.
Right. Enjoy.
Yeah, Ari put it really, really well. I think there's a saying that I really like, which is mourn for the dead and fight like hell for the living. And I think just putting that out to everybody and say, like, if you care about service members like dying overseas, then care about the local homeless veteran on your street that is being strangled by capitalism. Care about the children being killed in schools overseas by American weapons. Care about your neighbor being picked up by ICE. Like, it's very much going back to what Ari was saying about our values should be about caring about our neighbor as quote unquote a melting pot. Caring about people who don't look like you, the most American value you can have. And yet that feels like such a far concept from what we are seeing today. Caring about the land that we stole from indigenous people, first off, and that they have stewarded so well before us, caring about our land and our environment and our home. Like, let's not continue letting like these mattress companies steal Memorial Day for their mattress sales. I'm sorry, I know this is a radio station, so all the words that I can't say are like filtering into my head right now.
Yeah, you know what they are. Go ahead.
Just go slow.
Yes. Let's actually give about the world that many people went off and thought they were dying for.
Right.
Like, if you care about fallen service members, they didn't die for no reason. They died defending an idea, and whether that was a real idea or not, it should fall on all of us to continue carrying that idea. They're so vague now. It's almost cheesy to say things like freedom, things like democracy, things like justice and truth. But like, let's make those a real reality.
Let's just call it humanity.
Yeah.
Yes. So beautifully put, both of you. So beautifully put by both.
I would love to see Joy's work. I want to see the display because Victory was really talking it up, and I want to see it, Joy.
Oh, so it's not. I can't take credit for it. I just printed them out and had it up on like a big wall. It's this Instagram account called Palestinian Martyrs, and they detail.
I follow it.
Yeah, so those were the images that I borrowed because they offer them in PDF form. And yeah, the second time I printed them out, I normally just use a Staples nearby, and the guy who was handing them to me was like, "Oh, this is it's all these stories are so sad," and I was like, I mean, if a Staples employee in the middle of nowhere, Florida, knows about it, then it's like level 0 to have empathy for other people,
for children,
right?
Particularly, yeah.
Especially, yes.
For anyone, but yeah, particularly for children.
They're all our children. They're all our children. They all suffer, and they are the victims at just an incredible rate. An incredible rate. It's just a heartbreak. It's really a heartbreak. So yeah. So thank you for sharing that website. Thank you for sharing those images and for all your work as a Veteran for Peace. Veteran for Peace. We do have a local chapter 128. Russell Brown.
I will join
that chapter. Yes, we'd love to have you join. And meanwhile, we work in tandem with them all the time, the Western New York Peace Center. So, we know what's right. And it's so important to live out our values by, having the integrity and the compassion, the solidarity, the universal solidarity, really, that we need.
Amen.
So I want to say it's so wonderful to have both of you here, to have you on the show. I'm so grateful to both of you for joining us for this session of Talking Peace. This is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace in truth and love. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is a wrap.
Thank you, Victory.
Oh, you're barely late for your meeting.
I know.
And I
Joy,
hope-
it was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it was great meeting
I
you
know.
too. Russell's
Yeah.
a sweetheart, so if you join the local chapter, you'll love him.
Yes, you will.
I will. I am going to join the local chapter, and I look forward to actually, working with you some more. Victory,
Yeah.
I have to go. I am so sorry.
no, of
So
course you
you
do.
ladies
No,
continue.
I'm so grateful to you both. I hope you had a good visit with your sister, even though we were just.
Yeah, sorry. She
Bye,
texted
guys.
me at 2. Bye. It's good meeting
Bye,
you.
thank you.
She
Thank-
dropped in at like 2:30 and was like, "What are you guys doing?" "I'm gonna be dropping in," and I was like
Oops.
to our house. It was very last minute, but yeah. So.
Well, those things happen. And it was kind of last minute when I invited you too, because there's so much going on. We're in the middle. Have your dinner. Have your feet up. You deserve everything. And thank you so much. Thank you, Joy. You did a great job, as I knew you would. I'm so excited. I'm glad that we've been back in contact, and let's keep that going.
Yeah, you have my email now. Feel free to
Yeah.
shoot me an email anytime.
Well, and the next time I go to New York too, who knows? You might be able. I mean, there are ways that we can find each other there.
Yeah.
Here's Richard. Richard, meet Joy. You can see our. Can you see him? Our producer.
Hello, Joy.
There.
Sort of. I see a corner of his face.
Oh, anyway, well, a little bit anyway. But thank you so much. Really, it was a great show, very highly impact. And you know what? By the way, we have 2 shows that will go on WBNY. If you want to see this or use it or share it with anybody, that email will tell you all of it. But the other thing I was going to say is when this airs on Monday, we're going to air it at noon on WBNY. And then the next hour-long show that we have, me and